All right, good to go. We are live. Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon, morning, evening, depending on where you've joined us from. It's a great privilege and honor to host this event as we celebrate 150 years of the Institution of Engineering and Technology. Today, not only we commemorate engineering, but also manifest technology as you have never imagined before. I am Suman Bhaumik, your host, and I lead the events development for the IET in India. Today, I'm joined by my colleague and co-host Anita Kaveri, who leads the sector initiatives in the IET in India. Hi there, partner. How are you feeling today?
All good, Suman. Welcome everyone to those of us who have joined us on AirMeet, as well as all of you who are watching us on various social media streams. We are thrilled that you could join us today as we gather to celebrate 150 glorious years of the IET. It is a very special event, and we have aptly themed it Engineering a Digital Future. We can't keep calm with everything that's in store today, so let's jump right into it. Our first session is an exclusive segment to give you a sneak peek into our thought process as we turn money. With a purposeful strategic direction, the IET is all set to build on its legacy and continue to inspire the next generation of engineers.
And who best to speak about this than our President, Danielle George, and our Chief Executive and Secretary, Nigel Fine. Now, please welcome Shekhar Sanyal, the country head and director of the IET in India, who will lead this session. Keep your questions ready, everyone, and keep popping them in the questions window. Over to you, Shekhar.
Thank you. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Suman. It is a delight to be here. It's wonderful to be here celebrating the IET's 150th anniversary. And as Suman said, who better to talk about what we are planning to do and what's in store than our President, Danielle George, and our Chief Executive and Secretary, Nigel Fine. What I'll do for people who do not know both Danielle and Nigel very well, I'm going to read a short bio of both of them so that you know what their backgrounds are. I'll start with Danielle. Danielle is a professor of radio frequency engineering and associate vice president at the University of Manchester. As you know, she is currently the president of the Institution of Engineering and Technology. She was appointed member of the Order of the British Empire in 2016 Queen's Honours List for services to engineering through public engagement. In 2016, she also received the Royal Academy of Engineering Root Medal for services to engineering, and in 2017, she received the Harold Hartley Medal for outstanding contribution to the field of measurement and control. Danielle's research is dedicated to solving one of the 14 world engineering grand challenges of the 21st century, engineering the tools for scientific discovery. Her research is delivering class-leading ultra-low noise receivers for space and aerospace applications. She is involved in the $1 billion astronomical instrument, the Square Kilometre Array, and is the UK's lead for amplifier for the Atacama Large Millimeter Array telescope. She has worked with NASA and ESA on the development of the instrumentation for researchers. Her passion for raising public awareness of the positive impact of engineering and science has on all aspects of her everyday life, as well as highlighting to young engineers the immense depth and breadth of opportunities a career in science and engineering can offer has led to Danielle's numerous current high-profile ambassadorial roles. Moving on to Nigel. Nigel is a civil engineering degree holder from the University of Manchester. He has a long career in engineering, starting from construction with John Lane Construction, where he worked on projects in UK and Middle East. He's a registered professional engineer and a chartered engineer, as well as an MBA from the London Business School. His management career has included working for international paints, AkzoNobel, Anderson Consulting or Accenture, where he was the associate partner responsible for delivering supply chain outsourcing solutions, and Experian as managing director for Europe and Asia Pacific. From 2009, he has been the chief executive and secretary of the Institution of Engineering and Technology. He also holds non-executive positions as the chair of Committee of Chief Executives of all the UK's professional engineering institution. He's the trustee of Engineering UK and the chair of the Big Bang Board. Nigel is a fellow of the IET and the ICE, and Nigel's professional focus is on promoting technical skills technical skills pathways and encouraging more young people from all backgrounds into engineering and technology careers. So, warm welcome to both of you, Danielle and Nigel. We are going to spend the next 25-30 minutes talking about the IET, about the next of the past 150 years, the next 150 years, if we may, and we will take a lot of questions from our audience. But while we wait for the questions to come through, I have a few questions of my own. So, if I may, I'll start this session with a few questions, and then we'll pick up more questions as we go along.
Great.
Right? A lot of people know that the IET has just developed its 10-year strategy for the next decade. So since this is happening in India, we are hosting this from India, so my question is focused towards India, the first question. And Nigel, if I may ask you to take this question. This 10-year strategy, how is it relevant for India and our volunteers and members in India?
Shekhar, thank you very much indeed, and a very good morning and good afternoon to everybody. And it's a real pleasure to join you for this event today. We're only sorry that we're not able to join you personally. I'd just like to say that, whilst this pandemic is continuing, we are really feeling for you in India and Asia. I know it's been a very, very difficult few months, and, our thoughts are with you and all your families as you work through the pandemic. So we're there as the IET to help and support everybody through this difficult time. Now, turning to the specific question of the strategy, we're very excited about the IET 2030 strategy. It's really going to set out a very clear pathway of what we want to be in the next 10 years. So I'm just going to say a few words that sort of bring the strategy to life, and then I'll try and focus really on the role that India and South Asia are playing in its delivery. We're looking very much at global challenges. This is what's important to us, to make sure that we're looking at things like sustainability and climate change, digital futures, healthy lives, people-centric infrastructure, productive manufacturing. Those are big, big challenges that organizations like the IET and its members can really help solve. It's global. It means that we need to look at our world through the lenses of our different audiences, which clearly are people like practitioners, academics, industry, government and society. And we've also set ourselves a challenge of looking at it through another lens, which is about strategic themes, making sure that as an institution that does so many things each and every day around the world, how do you actually bring together everything that we do and deliver really unique value propositions to those different audiences that I've just mentioned? So we're looking at things like engineering excellence, skills, learning and networks, research solutions, engagement and policy and education. And those are sort of, if you like, the skeleton that helps us deliver lots of great stuff around the world. So our strategy is a skeleton. It sort of sets the framework about what we want to do and how we want to do it. The delivery of it really is where our volunteers and members play a hugely, hugely important role, because they have all the technical knowledge, they have the skills, they have the experience to actually bring the strategy to life and actually convert it into delivering real solutions and value propositions that engages a whole range of different audiences that connect into the IET. And turning to the specific part about where does India play its part in the strategy? Well, India is already leading in many respects, and things that you've been doing over the last few years really demonstrate what we're trying to achieve through our global strategy. And things like the thought leadership panels that you've established, the IET Futures Tech Panel, Futures of Mobility and Transport Panel, Engineering the Future Panel. These Engineering the Future of Work Panel, I should say. These are really good examples of what you're already doing to bring to life the global strategy. And, I've had the privilege of coming to India many times, and I've really loved joining the IoT Congress, which you've been running for a number of years. Of course, you're now planning to morph that into the Future Tech Congress that recognizes that technology is marching on with AI, blockchain, quantum computing, etc. So these are all examples of where you're bringing it to life. And of course, the other thing that you've done spectacularly well during the pandemic have been the digital conversations, where you've really brought together the profession to talk about things that we can do as an engineering profession to help society during these very, very difficult times. And I think that's been a terrific success, and we've certainly enjoyed tuning into some of those fantastic conversations. And finally, just to mention that the local networks across South Asia are also playing their role, and they've run at least 100 events, digital events over the last year. 13,000 people have joined. All of this is about actually promoting our strategy. So in answer to your question, we've got a global strategy, but it's very clear to me that India, our volunteers and members, and South Asia colleagues are really making it all come to life by the work that you're doing each and every day.
Thank you, Nigel. And I'm sure the volunteers and members and the people who are listening to it will start taking note of what the IET can do and start working with us more and more to realize the strategy that we have set forward. All these challenges that we are working on are global challenges, and it applies everywhere. And I'm sure all of us working together will make a huge difference. I'll move on to Danielle now. And if I might start by complimenting you, Danielle, on the sari that you're wearing today, especially. So thank you, you're looking lovely.
Thank you.
It's wonderful that we are here digitally and we are, talking through the digital medium. But 150 years comes once in a lifetime. Mm-hmm. And to celebrate such a huge milestone for the IET in these challenging times must have been very difficult. So what had to change in this, and what was dropped because of these challenging times, and how did we adapt?
Okay, thanks, Shekhar. Firstly, thanks very much for inviting me. As Nigel said, I wish we were there with you, but this is the next best thing, and I'm really looking forward to the whole of the event today. Shekhar, I mean, in terms of celebrating the 150th anniversary, what a way to celebrate. We wanted to do so much, and it's such an incredible milestone, isn't it, for us? And doing it in the middle of a pandemic really has had its challenges, but also opportunities as well. I think what I've really missed is sort of being able to see people physically during the celebrations and to travel, to come to India, to come to other local networks around the world. And so I've really sort of missed that side, but we did have, some fantastic guests when we filmed the 150 show at Savoy Place in London, and that was really nice to be able to do that. I think one of the biggest changes we had to make because of the pandemic was our Difference Maker campaign. That was sort of completely reworked because of travel restrictions. What we wanted to do initially was celebrate the difference makers around the world. So by letting them share their stories through interviews, and they were going to be facilitated by young people. And so they were going to be sort of vlogging around the world together. So we're now using social media to engage with that sort of Generation Z to highlight the importance of engineering and technology in solving those sort of real world problems that we know are out there. And we want to make sure that we're still sort of promoting the unbelievable stories from such incredible people around the world who are making such a big impact on the societal changes that we're all facing. And that could be very locally with their own communities, or it could be globally as well. We want to celebrate all of those people. So that campaign is focusing on 3 areas. We've got gaming, music, and fashion. And we want to be able to show how much engineering is just everywhere. It's woven into the very fabric of a life for all of us. But we want to try and highlight it in these 3 areas, because I think lots of people don't realize how much engineering is in gaming, music, and fashion. So our Global Event Fund has also helped lots of volunteers put on events throughout the world. Most of them have been virtually, but they're around the world to celebrate 150 years of the IET. And we've still managed to build unlikely partnerships, which is something I really, really wanted to do, sort of get outside that engineering bubble. We've worked with the publishing world, we worked with the fashion industry, and we've had a huge breadth of guests on our 150 show. If anyone hasn't seen it, I would totally recommend you go and watch some of the shows. So although we have had to make some huge changes with our initial celebration ideas, it has been a fantastic way to celebrate in the virtual world as well. And I think it's been a huge opportunity for us. I really loved doing my presidential address the way we did and doing it virtually. It reached so many more people, and that's what it's about, you know, to making sure that we reach people in a truly sort of global audience way, and we celebrate with our members, with our volunteers and young people all around the world.
Thank you, Danielle. I mean, yes, it has been a difficult year, but I think we have adapted so well, and so many. I think the way your presidential address and the IET 150, the talks which went, it was so wonderful. We reached so many more people, which we would have otherwise not been able to do. Also, I think this 18 months has been amazing for technology. The number of new technology changes which has happened and how it has enabled humankind to be still connected while inside their homes is amazing. And we are using one of those technologies right now to talk and speak to so many number of people who are here.
Yeah.
And that brings me to my next question. That's to you, Nigel. See, the pandemic has highlighted many challenges that our planet faces, as well as the work of engineers and scientists, whether that be through the production of vaccines or helping us to stay connected. How do you think this will impact the IET in the future?
Shekhar, that's a really interesting question, and you sort of almost led into it just a few moments ago, because the pandemic has changed the way we work. There's no question about it. I think the advance of technology and our use of technology has moved us ahead by 10 or 15 years in the space of just over 12 months. It's been quite incredible, really. I certainly do things today completely differently in my job than I was doing 18 months ago. And there's no question that the technology that we have enables us to still engage in these type of events wherever we may be sitting in the world. And it's much more inclusive. We're much more inclusive, and everything's much more leveled. People can feel they can be part of discussions and debates and share ideas wherever you might be around the world. You know, there's absolutely no going back. We are on a journey, and that journey has been advanced. But I always like to share a little story that I find fascinating about the IET, because you talk about communication, talk about the ability for us to sit in different parts of the world and enjoy this event. And that's all through the internet. And if you go back to 1966, we've been talking about that a lot in the UK this last couple of weeks, because we thought we were going to win a big football match. The last time we did was in 1966. That's another story. But Sir Charles Kao, who many of you will know, was an electrical engineer and a physicist. And it was his work using fiber optics, using materials and glass fibers and lasers that actually created the original academic work which gave us fiber optics. And we know that fiber optics is the way in which data now travels all over the world, how the internet, the backbone, the architecture of the internet. And it was his work in 1966 that has led to where we are today. And what I find absolutely wonderful is that he presented his original paper to the IET. We were then called the IEE, the Institute of Electrical Engineers. His original paper was presented in 1966 at our institution, and we hold that original paper. And I just find that just an amazing example of where, you know, the IET is able to bring people together to share knowledge, to experiment, to exchange ideas that help actually solve many, many world problems. And in today, in what we've been facing through the pandemic, it's undoubtedly, it's the work of engineers and technologists who've been working in support of the medical people who are at the front line, but they have been working in terms of building ventilators, building technology that the medical profession have been using. And clearly, we as a profession of engineers have had a really big role to play in helping to curb the pandemic. And we need to recognize what what these people have done, and to really champion engineering and technology and the engineers behind all these developments. And that's really what the IET does. And this is the opportunity that we continue to have to provide those platforms to share knowledge and to really promote engineering and really call out those difference makers who are solving global challenges. Big opportunities for the IET.
Absolutely, Nigel. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. And being a multidisciplinary institution, I think we have the unique opportunity also to create intersections between various kinds of engineering where the real challenges, the solutions can be found. And that, I think the IET has got an amazing role to play in helping the world to become, as we say, to engineer and working to engineer a better world. I have a question from one of our audiences. It's Aaron Johnson, who is asking a question. I'm assuming that he is possibly a student, and he says, he or she, I'm not able to say from the name, is what is the IET doing to interest and excite students and make sure that students become the part of IET? So he says, how does the IET help engineering students such as myself, and how do you plan to attract more students to be a part of it? So, any one of you.
Do you want me to start, Nigel, and then I'll
yes, please.
Okay, so I mean, firstly, students and of all ages are so important to not only to the IET but to sort of engineering and technology more broadly. If we aren't inspiring you and that next generation of engineers, then what's going to happen to the world? So it's really, really important that as the IET we support students, and we do that from a university perspective. So if I talk from a sort of a lecturer at a university, supporting students, and that could be with scholarships, it could be with support for helping with your CVs and talking to industry and things like that. But also getting you as a student to also inspire younger people than you, so going into primary schools, secondary schools, and it makes such a difference to, I have a 6-year-old, it makes such a difference when she talks to one of my students than when she talks to me about engineering. She can relate a lot more to younger people than she does to her mummy when she's talking about engineering. So I think we need to make sure that the IET gives you what you need as a student in terms of support, at all ages, but definitely, whilst you're a student at university, but then you to have that support and feel like you can then go and inspire people as well. So you have a role to play in this as well. So, and highlighting, all the different jobs that engineering and technology can do, and to highlight the difference makers as well. I mean, I think, difference making is quite a big thing for me for this year. And you are a difference maker as a student, and we want you to share your stories with other people, so that people know, younger than you, what difference makers they can be in the future. I will pass to Nigel.
Thank you, Danielle. I think you covered an awful lot of the response to the question. I like to say that, one of our taglines is we're the professional home for life. And that starts the very start of your professional career journey. And that is for many people clearly in university or further education colleges where you're embarking on an engineering and technology careers. And, one of the things that we try to do is to complement the academic learning by providing a lot of the practical skills, a lot of the life skills that really help young people become really great engineers and great leaders of the future. And so a lot of material is available at the IET. We have a huge repository of content, which is all readily available. Just go and look at the website and you can download so much. We also complement it by having on-campus groups. This is where we support groups of students who are on campus to help them develop their own skills, to build relationships with industry and other audiences, and to really get the very best of the IET. And we then want to continue that journey through the programs, the platforms that we have to help develop your professional career, as you move into registration, getting chartered status if that's what you want. All of these is a journey of discovery and engagement with the IET. So, getting started early in your academic studies, engaging with the IET is a fantastic way of building so many more skills that will help you in your future careers. And I believe the IET is there to help you do that.
Yeah, thank you, Nigel. Thank you, Danielle. And if I may add a couple of things to what both of you said from India perspective. So Daniel talked about scholarships. So I would like to say that the IET India undergraduate scholarships is now live. We have got a combined prize money of 5 lakh rupees. Over 7,300 students have already applied for this scholarship, and applications close on August 15th. So if you are in India and you are an engineering student, this is a great opportunity to seek help and apply. This is a prestige scholarship, and it's regarded quite well, and the prize money is, as you can say, 5 lakh of rupees. Additionally, Danielle talked about difference makers. So I want to say that our difference maker campaigns is going to start off from October 2021, and it will go on to May 2022. This is focused on South Asia alone, and that's please watch our social media handles for announcements around difference maker campaigns, where we'll recognize difference makers in engineering and technology over this period of time. Thank you so much for these answers. I have got one last, and if we then find we don't have too much of time left, this is about, again, coming back in a circle to the 2030 strategy. The 2030 strategy, time and again, emphasizes the IET's intent to create impact and outcomes globally. What steps is the IET taking to make this intent a reality? And I can go with you first to you, Nigel, and then if Daniel would like to add anything.
Shekhar, thank you very much indeed. The IET is a global organization, and we're very excited, as I said previously, about our IET 2030 strategy, because I think it's a really ambitious roadmap and framework to really make the IET move forward following our 150th anniversary celebrations and creating real legacy for the future. And what we want to make sure is that it's relevant to audiences all over the world, and that there is that real practical engagement. And our members and our volunteers are our key asset. They are, as I've said previously, the people who really understand the issues. They understand the technology. They understand the engineering, and they have that local knowledge. And so if we really want to harness the scale of the IET with 150,000 members across 150 countries, we need to make sure that we have that global engagement. And I think the good thing is that there are some really good examples of where we're now doing this. If I can just mention in China, for example, we really are tapping into a huge amount of content and knowledge through journal partnerships that we have in China. We're also promoting local registration in local language in China. So that's really sort of taking a global framework and implementing it locally. We've talked a lot about the thought leadership in India and South Asia, and I gave some examples before of the great work that everybody's doing in this part of the world to really bring the strategy to life. And I really do compliment you and encourage you to continue on that journey. We're looking at South in Middle East, where Middle East is now trying to pivot towards a much more of a knowledge society. So we're working hard to bring the capabilities of our strategy and develop them through knowledge capabilities within that particular market. And I think overall, that our 2030 strategy does really reflect the global challenges that we've got, and we need to make sure that we deliver it at a very localized levels. So, we're going to be taking a very global approach to our strategy. That's the sort of guiding light, if you like. But clearly, the only way we're going to make it happen is because we have got global reach. We've got local and regional knowledge, and South Asia is a fantastic example of that. And of course, we've got 150 years of experience behind us.
Brilliant. If I could just add, just to sort of emphasise what Nigel just said there, I think our biggest strength is the global reach of our membership, and if you just look at our mission, to inspire, to inform and influence, I think there's something for everybody in that, and you'll see that in the 2030 strategy as well. And to be able to look at it on a global stage and try and solve the massive challenges, to be able to do it at a community level and solve something for your next door neighbor, or there is something, I think, for everyone in that strategy. And I urge people to go, if you haven't looked at the strategy, have a look and start solving some of the challenges.
Thank you. Thank you. For people, there are some people asking where can I look at the strategy? Where can I find the strategy? It is on our website, theiet.org, where it will appear. It's still not there, but in a few days it will appear there. Additionally, I've got people asking me how to apply for the scholarship. So there are a number of questions about how to apply for the scholarship. So you need to go to our website, india.theiet.org, and you will find details of how to apply for the scholarship there. Thank you for this. I have been told that we have time for a couple of more questions. So if there are any more questions coming through, if anybody has got a question, please pop it into the Q&A box, and we will pick up those questions. In the meanwhile, there was a poll which happened, and it was about which societal challenge would you like to solve first? And at the top of the list, what people have voted is sustainability and climate change, followed by healthy lives, followed by digital futures, and then people-centric infrastructure. So that's the poll that we did.
That's really interesting, isn't it? It seems that sustainability and climate change is so, it seems to resonate with anyone you talk to around the world. And I think that's probably one of the reasons we chose it as one of the societal challenges to concentrate right on now, isn't it, Nigel?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think a day goes by where we don't talk about this, and I was thinking about it this morning, and I love going to India. I love spending time with you. I'd love to be physically with you, but I guess I've done my bit for reducing my carbon footprint by not getting on an aeroplane, but still joining you through this technology. So, we're in a different world now, and things are changing, and technology is helping us deal with sustainability and climate change, which, I think is a number one priority for all of us.
We have a question which has come through about how does the IET look at policy around science and technology and working with governments, both in India and around the world? What are we doing around that?
I'm happy to lead on that, Danielle, if you like. We've got large teams that work on providing unbiased advice, independent advice to governments, and particularly the UK government, where we are often asked to comment on the engineering impact of a government policy decision. And we have a number of different panels covering things like energy, transport, sustainability, healthy lives, and so forth, that actually brings together the members, because I keep emphasizing the knowledge of the IET sits in its membership. We bring the members together in focus groups, and we support them by staff who provide a framework to then provide the input to government requests. Now, there is a huge amount, once again, there is a huge amount of information, we call them fact files, that sit on the IET website, all available, whilst it may well have emanated from the UK, because we have a little bit more experience on this. It's much of what is published is applicable in other parts of the world, and we would certainly want to encourage, when appropriate, for the membership to work with different government agencies to help provide that engineering input. And I'm minded, Shekhar, that actually, in the IoT Congress, you have had many government officials join over the years. You produced white papers, and thought leadership has been really very much the heart of many of these initiatives. So, I think there are some great examples of what's coming out of India and South Asia and the UK that we should try to replicate all over the world. But, if you're interested in this area, please start by looking at what's on the website. I think you'd be amazed by the rich content that exists.
Absolutely.
Shekhar, if I could just add a bit about something that we're working on in the UK, but it would be great to then make this global, is digital poverty. And the IET is working with lots of people to sort of try and end digital poverty. And I think that's a really important part of engineering a digital future, is making sure that we understand the digital poverty side as well and tackle that. I think the IET have got a great role to play because we are an independent body, and governments, etc., see us as that independent body, which is great. So we can bring people together without having an angle. You know, we have nothing to sell. We don't have a product that we're trying to push, but we want to bring these people together and try and eradicate digital poverty. And we wanted to start that during our 150th anniversary year. And, and I think it's going to be a very long a partnership with lots of people, but I think that's something that the IET can do, is have that sort of independent voice as well with governments around the world and with other companies around the world as well.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks, Nigel. If I may add, Nigel, to what you said, from our thought leadership platforms in India, we have provided inputs into the M2M policy of the government, the IoT policy of the government, as well as the social outreach policy of the government. And currently, we have been asked to provide some inputs into the new drone regulations that the government of India is coming out with. So there has been already some work. Obviously, we could do much more. And anybody interested, I think we would welcome your inputs into this and work with us to help do this work. Now, I've got one final question. And this is from Oana Lazar. She says, I'm extremely grateful to the IET for the engineering education grant scheme. In the future, do you have plans for a joint outreach effort with volunteers running IET designed and organized events in schools? So Nigel or Danielle, whoever wants to pick this up, this is about, do we work with volunteers to do work in schools? And I think I know the answer, but I'll let you answer it.
Yeah. Do you want to take it, Nigel, and then I'll...
Daniel, I'll let you go first this time, and then I can handle it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the short answer is yes, we do a lot, and it's such an important part of what we do. We have some amazing initiatives. I think if people haven't seen the first Lego League and what we do with children around the world and their parents and their teachers, which is also really important, then please do have a look at that. But it is very, very important to support children at a very young age and then all the way through as well. And to make sure that, I think lots of children around the world have this great passion and great imagination when they're very young. And we seem to sometimes lose that as they get a bit older. We've got to try and keep that passion and that enthusiasm about engineering and technology when they're young. Keep it for no matter how old they get. And there's lots of great initiatives that the IET are involved in. First Lego League is probably one of my favourite ones, though.
And all I would add to that is we're blessed by having 4,500 active volunteers all over the world, many of whom are actually working in STEM outreach programs, going into schools, exciting kids about what STEM is all about, hopefully directing them at some stage towards engineering and technology careers. And I've already talked about the competitions like First Lego League. I just think there's such an array of opportunities for people to get involved within the IET as volunteers and really do such amazing and important work to deliver these programs. We would not do what we do across the world if it wasn't for our volunteers, which we are truly grateful for. Education is a big area for people to get involved. We welcome all of our volunteers in this area.
Yes, thank you. Where would we be without our volunteers, Nigel? I mean,
exactly.
The amazing amount of work that they do. And it gives us great hope that it's 150 years and there will be another 150 years. Viva la the volunteers. So thank you very much for this very informative session. Thank you for taking out time, Nigel and Danielle, for being here. It was wonderful having you here. And now we have got a whole set of activities. We have got 2 amazing speakers coming up. We have got one movie on Indian engineering, which is going to happen. So please do join us and enjoy the proceedings. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Shekhar. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Danielle and Nigel, for articulating the strategy in great detail as well as delving into how it will impact the region. And thank you, Shekhar, for quizzing them in detail and facilitating this discussion. It is indeed reflective of the global dialogue, and I'm sure all of this will bring better meaning to the work of both our staff and volunteer teams. So thank you so much for that. And now, everyone, brace yourself for the next session as we introduce our much-awaited segment with a man who made a copy of himself for the first talk of the day. We will bring this on in a minute, so don't take your eyes off the screen.